Comics Plus, what is going on? Akazan here. It is the week of Wrestlemania 41. Shows how much I know. A lot of you guys don't know. A lot of y'all may know this, but I used to be a very, very avid wrestling fan. I still am in some form or fashion. Stardom Wrestling I watch, New Japan Pro Wrestling, especially living here in Japan. I get into it. Storyline wise, not as much, but I still keep up with WWE. I don't watch the programming so much, but I do keep up with it. You know, it helps with the workout routines and etc. So I have been somewhat off and on just watching all the highlights. We unfortunately, Netflix Japan does not carry Raw, because I would totally watch it if it did. But I've been catching up on Cody Rhodes and his story, The Rock, Bloodline, and you know, ever since last year with the Bloodline rules at WrestleMania, I've been just kind of curious, like what's the whole story with it. I watched a documentary on Roman Reigns already because I was very curious, because honestly, the last time I heard about Roman Reigns, nobody liked him. And he was wearing color contacts, and he was terrible on the mic. Then Corona happened, and he was champion, and then suddenly he became like the longest running champion in modern wrestling history. And then suddenly he became like Paul Heyman's in his corner, and he's got a wise man, and everybody looks up to him, and now everybody likes him for some reason, right? So I was trying to figure out what that was all about. I watched the documentary. I get it now. Essentially, it was a combination of Corona gave him a chance to reinvent his character a little bit, and stay away from the crowd and work on his mic skills. You know, also the break that he took with his battle with leukemia, and then of course the wise man Paul Heyman really helped make something. But the thing I was really trying to figure out was the thing about the Bloodline, and there's like a off-brand. It kind of, to me, it sounds not necessarily the same as NWO, but like so there's the Bloodline, but then there's like a fraction Bloodline, just like the NWO, right? So that's what I want to figure out right now. We're going to watch this full documentary. It came out 4 months ago, so I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of gap in between this upcoming WrestleMania, but I am kind of curious how this all works. Yeah, let's sit back, relax. Let's get into it. Wrestle with Andy. The B-Team Bloodline, right? My client, Brock Lesnar.
YE family.
All right, here we go.
There are a lot of great contenders for best storyline in wrestling history. Some might say it's the explosion of the Mega Powers.
All right.
Others might say it's Austin versus McMahon. But in recent years, a new challenger to this crown has emerged. After all, it's largely been responsible for WWE's resurgence in popularity in the 2020s.
Really?
And that's the story of the Bloodline. But how did it all happen?
Right.
Well, join us as we take a deep dive into the entire tale right now. It all begins in 1914,
okay,
as that's when Reverend Amatowanai Anawai, the patriarch
Dylan, it always has
family,
been,
was born. And over the years, a cavalcade of his kin would join the wrestling industry, with their ranks including legends like the Wild Samoans,
right,
Soulman Rocky Johnson, Yokozuna, The Rock, and Rikishi, just to name a few.
Okay.
That said, while the Anawai family were often acknowledged on WWE TV, the acknowledge of using their bloodline as an ongoing storyline was never really attempted until the mid-2010s, when Roman Reigns was on top of the company. Yes, it was at this point that after breaking off from The Shield, the big dog periodically began teaming up with his cousins Jimmy and Jey Uso. But even then, this was never a consistent stable. Rather, it was more something the trio...
Wait. That's what the Usos look like in the big... What the fuck? Wait, I get it, and I see what they're. Wow, they look much better now with short hair and stuff. Like this Ultimate Warrior, Umaga looking thing. I get what like why they started it out like that, but yeah, they look like some default. They look like some default like create your own wrestler dudes. Yeah, they look much better. I think it's the same people that they're the ones doing this when one of them does that in the ring, right? And like what they were fighting over that white boy, what's his name, Sammy or the outsider or something like that, right? Okay, but okay. Yeah, I get it, but yeah. I do like this look of Roman Reigns a lot more, but I know this must have been a long time ago because now Roman Reigns is kind of rocking a little gray. Yeah, Sami Zayn, yeah.
Whenever they needed the extra bit of backup. So if that wasn't the official start of the
The contacts, dude. I know a lot of people hated it. I get why they did it with him, but yeah, it's better that they ditched it.
Bloodline, when did it start? Well, to tell this, we have to flash forward a few years to 2020. That was the year when, with the world in shutdown, Roman Reigns was taken off of TV for health concerns,
right?
And instead remained in isolation at home. Of course, this isolation was always going to be temporary, though. The only thing which wasn't expected was that when he eventually did come back in the summer of this year, he'd have a whole new attitude. What was this new attitude? Well, now realizing how fragile and fleeting life could be, the big dog decided he needed to take charge of his family more thoroughly and make sure they were getting everything they needed.
Okay.
And in doing so, he developed something of a megalomaniacal streak, one so bad that he'd officially turned heel after siding with his new wise man, Paul Heyman, in the days leading up to Payback on August 30th.
Really?
But then it wasn't like this.
So he was actually a face? So he was a face when he left WWE to take care of his battle. And then he came back and then as a face and then he flipped a little bit after that. Interesting. I mean, I understood that he had to kind of be a face coming back because he was just way too loved after that, but similar to Triple H, but yeah. Wait, really? Really? Interesting, because I remember. Wait, really? So when Roman Reigns was going up against Undertaker, and I think he was one of the people that beat the streak, right? Or defeated the Undertaker, like, because wasn't that the whole deal? He was like, look, I'm not a bad guy, I'm not a good guy, I'm just that guy, like that. I thought he was a heel around that time, the way people hated his ass. Interesting. He was a hated babyface. Okay, got it. You were there when Roman beat. All right, let's go.
This heel turn ended up being a bad thing for him because at Payback he'd defeat Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman to win the Universal title.
Okay.
That's right, Roman was now the champ again, and this time, with an all-new character to sink his teeth into, he finally started to feel like the star people always knew he could be.
Interesting.
But it wasn't just about winning the gold for the man now proclaiming himself to be the tribal chief. No, as we mentioned a moment ago, it was also about being a leader to his blood. And the first step in asserting that leadership was making...
All right, so those are the same dudes, right? Yeah, they look much better now. They look much better than, holy shit, dude. Wait, are those really the same guys? I guess so. Holy shit, they look much better. All right. And for the record, okay, again, look, I'm a very casual, I only watch clips and highlights now of WWE, so I might need to know, are the brands still separated? I know it sounds stupid, but is Raw and SmackDown still separate brands? And do they both have respective champions? And do they do drafts and all that other shit? Like, so Roman is a SmackDown that looked like SmackDown. Okay, so Roman's a SmackDown. He was the Universal title is on SmackDown. Okay, got it. Mania season. Okay, got it. The Raw after Mania 33, well, Roman's doing it for 15 minutes while the crowd shitted on him, right? Right? The woman tag titles are the only ones that travel both. Well, there's a joke somewhere there, but okay. All right, so I get it. So he aligned himself with Paul Heyman. He became a heel. He beat Brian Wyatt, and this started his streak, right? This was the beginning of the streak. Okay. The modern yeah. Now the question, I guess, though, I know some people would ask is no, wait. Okay, because I was gonna say, if it wasn't for Corona, would his reign have been as long? Probably, right? Because they were still having matches. Yeah.
Now the champ again, and this time with an all-new character to sink his.
They are separate, but still on people still show up on other shows. Okay, so the Universal Championship is a SmackDown champion. So what's the name of the Raw one? The WWE Championship? I guess that's a whole different story, huh? Okay, let's keep it. It's back to the WWE champions, Cody Rhodes, and a new version of the World Heavyweight Championship, Gunther. Okay. So the World Heavyweight is that technically the WCW? Because isn't that what they were calling it? The WCW World Heavyweight Championship? Not technically. Okay. So it's not. Okay. Okay. Because wasn't the Undisputed, Jericho held both of them, and then they merged it into the Undisputed. Yeah, now this is good. I guess that's a conversation for a whole nother day. All right, let's just focus on the Bloodline thing for now.
Teeth into, he finally started to feel like the star people always knew he could be. But it wasn't just about winning the gold.
I caught
the
him.
Man now proclaiming himself to be the tribal chief.
What up, man?
So, as we mentioned a moment ago, it was also about being a leader to his blood.
Okay.
And the first step in asserting that leadership was making sure his cousins, the Usos, were following him in this new path.
By the way, on a side note, are the Usos all 100% Samoan? Are they got some black in them? Because when... Bro, almost every interview I've ever heard them talk, I'm like, bro, these sound like niggas. Like, yo, my man Roman. I'd be like, yo. And I know Rocky Johnson up there, like, yeah, they're cousins. So I'm just, Jimmy's wife is black. Is that? Well, I don't know if that's a good enough excuse. We all, bro. I mean, they island people. But like they really be sounding like wait, Rikishi is their dad? He married Naomi? Everybody want to be a ninja, but nobody want to be a ninja. Like, I swear, dude, when they talk, I'm like, wait a second, hold up. All right, here we go.
Unfortunately for Reigns, though, at least initially, Jey Uso didn't seem too receptive to his cousin's new attitude. And with Jimmy being out with injury at that point, it meant the leader of the Bloodline was a man without any soldiers. So, in order to resolve this issue, Roman had to show Jey who was boss, and the way he chose to do so was by taking him on one-on-one at September 27th's Clash of Champions.
Oh.
Who would come out on top here? The Tribal Chief, of course, with him winning after Jimmy Uso made a surprise return to throw in the towel for his twin brother after
really?
Punishing beatdown. So that was that.
Holy shit. That's cool. That was really some tribal. Now, The fucking Jimmy got challenged to a fucking Agni Kai. Straight up got his ass beat down like fucking Zuko. the the Fire Lord Roman Reigns and shit, dude. That's great. I love it. Yeah.
That then, right? Well, no, because even after such a brutal loss, Jay refused to bend the knee. In fact, he remained steadfast in his desire to take the Universal title away from his cousin.
Really?
Which is exactly why he challenged him to a rematch just 1 month later in an IQ match at October 25th's Hell in a Cell.
Wow.
Of course, for as badly as Jay wanted to get the big win here and cement himself as a true main eventer, in the end, such a result was not meant to be. No, instead what happened was, after Jimmy Uso once again got involved towards the close of the bout and got himself locked in a guillotine choke for his troubles, Jay was forced to say "I quit" so as to save his brother from further harm. And after that happened and the match was over, Roman simply walked up the entrance ramp where he was met by his uncle and father, Afa and Sika, two elders of the NYE family, who proceeded to solidify his status as the new head of the table.
That's dope. Yo, that's dope. Oh shit. Who was writing this back then? Is this Triple H or this can't be a Vince McMahon storyline, dude. That's fucking dope, dude. Vince was around, but I highly doubt he was writing this because he'd probably want somebody to eat out Roman Reigns' ass or something like that, and acknowledge me with your tongue in my asshole or some shit like that. Vince, freaky ass Vince, be doing that shit, dude. Paul Heyman wrote it. Roman and Paul wrote this. That's dope, dude. Dude, that's pretty sick. That honestly, that's pretty fucking sick, dude. He's got to say "I quit" to save his twin brother and shit. That's dope, dude. And at the end, he rolls up there, and so that started the so that's the beginning of the head of the table era, maybe.
For his troubles, Jay was forced to
that's dope. With the two elders up there, that's a straight up Agni Kai, bro.
Roman simply walked up the entrance ramp where he was met by his uncle and father, Afa and Sika.
I love that, dude. No, I love that. I wish I saw that live.
His status as the new head of the table by adorning him with a ceremonial Ula follow.
Right. That's where he got the Ula follow.
Now then was, after being beaten twice, would Jey Uso finally acknowledge his tribal chief? Yes, was the answer to that. And so, with this now settled, the hierarchy of the Bloodline began to appear, with it at this point seeing Roman serve as their leader, Paul Heyman serve as consigliere, and Jay serve as the attack dog, who was often sent to soften up whoever his boss's next opponent was.
Attack dog.
Who was that next opponent as 2020 gave way to 2021? Well, that would be Kevin Owens.
Really?
But for as great as KO was, there was no way he was ever going to overcome the might of this new all-powerful heel stable. And the next challengers didn't fare much better either, because with Jey Uso always there to lend a helping hand, and with Paul Heyman always there to call the plays from a distance, the tribal chief was able to walk in and out of Wrestlemania season, still the Universal Champion, after an absolutely dominating performance saw him beat both Edge and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 36. And he wasn't the only one enjoying success then, as with his cousin there to guide him.
Does Roman Reigns wrestle? Does he wrestle in boots? Wrestling boots or yeah, okay. Because sometimes I'd be seeing this dude come out in Nikes and I'm like, wait, do you wrestle like that?
The dominating performance saw him.
It looks like it looks like wrestling boots.
And beat both Edge and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 36. And he wasn't the only one enjoying success then, as with his cousin there to guide him, Jey Uso was able to get a big win during the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on the April 9th episode of SmackDown.
That's cool.
One Uso who was not on board with the...
Hey, how do you tell them apart, by the way? I'm not gonna lie, I'm having that's the hardest problem I'm having right now. How do you tell Jay and Jimmy apart? Like, can you? Like, Jimmy is fat? Okay. Wait, Jay has a mullet? Don't they both have mullets?
The whole Bloodline yet, though, was Jimmy. And that became clear when he returned on May 7th and began berating his brother for being Roman's lackey.
Oh, really?
So realizing he had to assert his dominance again, the head of the table was able
Oh, okay, you know what? I can okay, I can see the difference. So this is the returning Samoan. Yeah. The other one, his eyebrows are a little thicker and he's like a little more darker skin.
manipulate things so that after Jay briefly...
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I think this dude has a grill as well. He really, bro, it's funny. But I guess it works for him. Right.
walked away from the group due to the tension between Roman and Jimmy. Jimmy was guilted into siding with the champ. And this in turn ended up bringing Jay back into the fold too.
Oh, yeah, they really look different.
The Bloodline truly felt like a unified front. And with that mountain finally having been conquered, the next step in their reign of dominance was for the Usos to win some gold of their own. So that's exactly what they do when on July 18th, 2021 at Money in the Bank, while the head of the table was successfully defending his Universal title against Edge once more in the main event.
I'm not going to lie, I'm very impressed with how skinny Roman looks. Like when he's wearing casual clothes, he actually doesn't look that big. But then this dude takes his shirt off and it's like, holy fuck. Like, this dude is huge.
The Usos would be beating Rey and Dominic Mysterio during the pre-show to become SmackDown Tag Team Champions.
What's up, Cuddle Bear?
Really, by now, it felt like there was truly nothing that could stop the Bloodline. Hell, even when John Cena made a return to challenge Reigns at SummerSlam, it would do no good because the champ had by now leveled up so much, even the former face of the company couldn't hold a candle to him anymore.
Really?
And this pattern would continue on as 2022 dawned too. Though by that point, the first cracks in the veneer began to show for the Bloodline, as it was in January 29th's Royal Rumble pay-per-view that Roman lost to Seth Rollins, albeit by disqualification, meaning the Universal title.
Right, it's still his.
Hands.
Right.
And that wasn't the only problem the Bloodline were having.
Wait, what happened to Fatu? Like, isn't there another guy? Like, well, I guess they're going to get to it, the split.
Having by now? No, there were also issues with Paul Heyman, as after Brock Lesnar returned to WWE in late 2021, Roman Reigns began to become suspicious as to where his wise man's true allegiances lay. Thankfully for the heel group, though, any speculation about loyalties were put to rest when at the Royal Rumble, Reigns returned later on in the evening following his own match to lay out Lesnar with a belt shot, all as the former ECW boss stood in his corner and confirmed he was indeed still on his side.
Really? Why? Why, Paul Heyman? Why? What the fuck? And also, by the way, I'm wondering, on the belt, I have a question. This Hardy Boys logo right here, does that logo change depending on who the champion is? Because I think that's Roman's insignia, right? Like, it looks like the Hardy Boys logo. That's the Roman Reigns logo. So if someone else becomes so who's champion right now? Cody Rhodes, it changes, right? That's cool. Hey, that's pretty cool. I like that idea. That's cool. Okay.
Group, though, any speculation about loyalties were put to rest when at the Royal Rumble, Reigns returned later on in the evening following his own match to lay out Lesnar with a
I don't agree with that.
as the former
What the
ECW
fuck?
boss stood in his corner and confirmed he was indeed still on his side.
I don't think so.
So this started the build towards a Reigns versus Lesnar match at WrestleMania 38, where both Roman's Universal title and Brock's WWE title would be on the line.
Did Brock really? I mean, look, I ain't ever going to say this shit to Brock's face, but cowboy hat, fucking, what do you call that? I forgot what those things are called. The checkered thing. It's not grunge, but checkered, yeah, whatever. That's funny. Flannel, yeah. Did it work for him? Really? Cowboy Brock worked for him? I mean, because I guess that makes sense, though, because of the fact that Paul Heyman can't talk for him anymore. So, yeah. Wait. Oh. So that's the other belt you guys were talking about, right? Wow, they look similar. They look really they look the same basically. I don't know if I like these new belts. They look like tag belts, to be honest.
Winner takes all. And as WrestleMania closed out,
yeah, look.
The
Wait, it's the same fucking belt, just a different color. Wow. Huh?
Tribal Chief was standing tall as undisputed WWE Universal Champion, with his undisputed title run at this point being 581 days long. And Roman wouldn't be the only member of the Bloodline who'd be a double champion by the time the summer came around. No, after successfully defending their SmackDown Tag Team titles at WrestleMania 2, the Usos would go on to unify them with the Raw Tag Team titles when they beat RK Bro on the May 20th episode of SmackDown.
What the fuck?
With this victory pretty much
What the fuck? So they basically, it was one of those units or stables that had all the gold type of deal. Holy shit.
Making the group the most dominating stable WWE had seen in decades, maybe ever. Little did we know, though, things were only just getting started and would get even better, because it was in the summer of 2022 that things went from great to all-time legendary when Sami Zayn started interacting with the group. At first,
the Steve, the Aloha Steve of WWE. I don't know.
First, it was only supposed to be comedy segments for a couple of weeks. Mid-card heel Sami Zayn delusionally tries to get the help of Roman Reigns so that he can best his own opponents with greater ease. But as time went on, it became clear WWE had something special on their hands.
Dude, those are horrible belts, honestly. Honestly speaking, those tag belts look horrible. Like, they look like UFC belts, but not in a good way. Yeah, thank God, dude. Dude, they look like. Have y'all ever been to like Knoxbury Farm or amusement parks where you pay like $1 or 50 cents or $1 to stretch out a fucking penny, and that's what that shit looks like if you put a penny on a railroad and shit. That's what it looks like. Anyways.
With this one, as Sami proved to be so lovable in his role of delusional heel, so naive in his belief that the Bloodline would accept him into their family, he was pretty much turned babyface by audiences everywhere. Sure, he would still technically be a heel, as would the rest of the Bloodline, but every time the Quebec native featured in a segment with the Usos, trying desperately to get an audience with the champ, it was impossible not to be endeared by him. And those feelings only got more intense once Sami actually started appearing in segments with Roman himself, as they had an instant chemistry together. But even if Zayn was slowly starting to grow on most of his newfound family, one person who was absolutely not buying what he was selling was
Jimmy.
Jey Uso.
Oh, Jey Uso. I remember this story because, there was a whole thing where kind of like mafia rules. I think one of the Usos had to beat up Sami and shit in front of him to prove his loyalty or some shit like that. I vaguely remember this story.
No, by the time the autumn was dawning, he seemed to be the lone holdout in welcoming the newcomer to the group with open arms. Well, sort of open arms, because in truth, Sami wasn't a full-blown member of the Bloodline yet. Rather, he was an honorary Us, with this being a title he had first suggested for himself a few months earlier in the alliance. And this status as honorary Us was confirmed when, much to the chagrin of Jey, Roman gave a new t-shirt to his disciple emblazoned with this moniker. What was happening with the world title and the tag team titles while all that was going on? The same as had been happening to them in the months and years prior, because at SummerSlam both Reigns and the Usos successfully defended.
God damn, Roman looks great, dude. This is after his leukemia battle. He looks really good. Like, he was looking hella lean in the beginning, and I was like, damn, man, I hope he's all right. But, yeah, he actually looks really good. Okay. Man, the one thing I seriously need WWE is how they're treating Randy Orton. The guy went toe-to-toe with legends, and now they got him in the background. Like, no way. Like, some of the most legendary WWE moments happened because of him. Randy is one of those legends now. He had plans for WrestleMania, but KO has a neck injury. Oh shit. You just a fake ass Usi? The Sammy story was great, yeah, but that's my problem. I feel like he was put in the background of years because he wanted new faces forgetting about him. Yeah. That is true. Randy Orton is not young anymore. I mean, he had that like baby face, that very young chiseled look. Now when I see him, I'm like, damn. All right. He kind of just decided to shave all that shit off too. It's quite interesting. All right.
Defended their respective gold, and at Clash at the Castle a few weeks later, the Tribal Chief would do the same again against his toughest challenger to date, Drew McIntyre.
What?
And the reason this was Roman's toughest challenger yet was because this event took place in Drew's native UK.
Okay.
With the crowd cheering him on towards victory every step of the way. Sadly for the Scottish psychopath, however, his attempts to get a victorious moment on his home turf were spoiled when, towards the close of the bout, an all-new member of
okay, this is him. Okay, the Fatu, right?
Bloodline appeared and helped his leader to earn a victory. Who was this new member? Why, that would be Solo Sikoa.
Oh, Sikoa.
Yes, unbeknownst to the rest of the group, it appeared that the elders of the NOIE tribe had sent Solo to act as a new silent heavy for the Bloodline. And this was a role he would serve going forward then, even if his tribal chief was a little unsure of him.
Wait, really? Wait, hold up.
An all-new member of the Bloodline appeared and helped his leader to earn a victory. Who was this new member? Why, that would be Solo Sikoa. Yes, unbeknownst to the rest of the group, it appeared that the elders of the NOIE tribe had sent Solo to act as a new silent heavy for the Bloodline.
Okay.
And this was a role he would serve going forward then, even if his tribal chief was a little unsure of him at first.
Right.
And then there was Sami Zayn, outcast of the whole situation, someone who was still desperately trying to become a fully blown member of the stable. What Sami really needed then was something which would truly prove his loyalty to the group. And luckily for him, he'd get this at Survivor Series on November 26th, as there, he'd be part of Team Bloodline during the War Games.
Oh!
The babyface collective of Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Butch, Ridge Holland, and Kevin Owens. Would start a Team Bloodline.
What the fuck? Are those the Bushwhackers? Is that like the revised new version of the Bushwhackers? That's Kevin Owens right there. I don't know. That's the really pale Irish guy, right? That's funny. War Games. Okay. I know this is a whole different story as well, but you know, I want to like if somebody wants to explain it in the chat, but I think I asked this question last year also. What's the difference? So there's Survivor Series. I'm familiar with Survivor Series, which is usually is it five? I thought it was 6-man, 5-man, 5-on-5 battle. Yeah, 10-man battle. But War Games, I don't understand. Is that just the added little thing that they put on there now? Like, or have the rules changed? Is the mood about to change? Yeah.
War Games match where they went up against the babyface collective of Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Butch, Ridge Holland, and Kevin Owens. Would Sami side with Roman and company over his real-life best friend KO here? That was the question everyone was looking for an answer to. And it was a question he got an answer to when, towards the close of the bout, Zayn proved his loyalty to the Bloodline by delivering a low blow to Owens, a low blow which directly led to him getting pinned by Jey Uso. And so, just like that then, Sami Zayn now felt like a fully accepted member of the heel stable for the first time. Hell, even Jey seemed to have fallen in love with him by now. But alas, if anyone was thinking it was going to be happy times from here on in, they'd be wrong, because after Sami and Roman lost a tag team bout to Kevin Owens and John Cena on the December 30th, 2022 episode of SmackDown, cracks would once again begin to form in that trust.
Wait, War Games is held inside a double ring with a steel... What the fuck? Which is different from the Elimination Chamber. But similar then, yeah? What the fuck?
Between the Canadian and the rest of his new family. And this would ultimately lead to the trial of Sami Zayn being carried out by the Bloodline on the Raw before the 2023 Royal Rumble. But even if Sami had escaped the chopping block here, he still had one more test to pass. And that
Sorry, I missed something. How did Sami Zayn fuck up?
Cracks would once again begin to form in that trust between the Canadian and the rest of his new family. And this would ultimately lead to the trial of Sami Zayn being carried out by the Bloodline on the Raw before the 2023 Royal Rumble. But
wait, what?
To Kevin Owens and John Cena on the December 30th.
Okay, my bad.
But alas, if anyone was thinking it was going to be happy times from here on in, they'd be wrong, because after Sami and Roman lost a tag team bout to Kevin Owens and John Cena on the December 30th, 2022 episode of SmackDown, cracks would once again begin to form in that trust between the Canadian and the rest of his new family. And this would ultimately lead to the trial of Sami Zayn being carried out by the Bloodline on the Raw before the 2023 Royal Rumble. But even if Sami had escaped the chopping block here, he still had one more test to pass, and that test would happen at the Royal Rumble just 6 days later. That was the night where, after once again successfully defending his undisputed WWE Universal title,
acknowledge me,
the Bloodline began laying into the babyface during a post-match beatdown. Well, we say all the Bloodline joined in here, but what we really mean is all of the Bloodline except for Sami Zayn. Yes, Sami was finally starting to realize that Roman was just using him like any bully would, and that was why, to the sounds of a catastrophic pop from the live crowd, he instead clattered the head of the table with the chair, laying him out. Yes, Sami Zayn had made his choice, and in the process, had turned babyface once more. And this could only mean one thing: a big-time showdown between him and the champ.
Wait, but why didn't the other Usos? Why did nobody jumped into? Interesting. But I guess because there were also fractions already beginning to form with the head of the table. Interesting. That was a fantastic moment. Yeah. Comic Jammer. I mean, well, technically, no. Next is the development. It's the Next is like the much better version of there used to be a show a long time ago. Heat. Yeah. I think it was called Heat. It was like the show that the dark matches or whatever, the warm-up shows before the big event later. It was Heat, and it was another one. I think Heat was before Raw, and I can't remember the one before SmackDown. I forgot what it was, though. Oh, Heat and Next are... Oh, wait, what? No? Oh, NXT. Oh, okay. Okay, never mind then. Never mind. I thought NXT was the show before Raw or something like that. Like, but it got too popular or some shit like that. I know it's a developmental territory though. WWE and Triple H was running it for quite some time. Superstars is the newer version of Heat? Really? What's up, Blade? Stop triggering the marks? What? Yeah. Okay, cool. Shawn Michaels runs NXT now? Okay. All right.
A month later, at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
But what made this match so special wasn't just the fact that it was Zayn versus Reigns, one of the most anticipated bouts WWE had put out in years.
Really?
At that point, and the match which, at the time, felt like it really could be the climax to the whole Bloodline story.
Really?
No, it was also the fact that it was taking place in the challenger's own hometown of Montreal.
Oh, wow.
But in the end,
screw job.
The support of an entire city wasn't enough for
honorary hob.
No, after the entire Bloodline, including a still conflicted Jey Uso, got involved to interfere towards the close of the bout, Roman would be able to hit a spear and get the 1-2-3. But there was another big challenger.
Oh, God. Cody Rhodes. I can't. Look, yeah, I mean, yeah, whatever. I ain't gonna say shit. Cody Rhodes. Stardust. I was gonna say something, but it's okay. Oh yeah, is that Roman's closer? The spear? That's his finisher? Y'all gotta start. Fuck your story. It's still real. It's still real to me, damn it. All right.
And who had won the Royal Rumble 1 month previously, Cody Rhodes. Yes, rejoining WWE the prior year, Cody had been on quite a tear, with his momentum building up so much by now that he was equally as over as Sami Zayn. So if Sami wasn't going to be the one to dethrone Roman then, it felt like Cody was the only other option left. And that would be the story heading into the main event of WrestleMania 39.
Dude, I have that same tie. What the hell? Finish his story.
Or rather, it would be one of the stories for one of the main events, because with this being after the point WWE had decided to extend WrestleMania to 2 nights, it meant that there was going to have to be a big...
Oh, so this is a new thing. So this is actually relatively new. I thought the 2-night thing had been doing it. They've been doing it for like at least 5 years. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So that's actually fairly recent. I got a lot of respect for what he's been able to do. I agree with that. I don't hate Cody Rhodes, but I don't know. I've watched his in-ring work and I was like, okay, maybe it was just a bad match, but I was just like, I guess. Yeah. But to be fair, I also kind of feel like Roman Reigns matches are like, I'm like, okay. They're cool, but like I don't know. I just feel like wrestling in general, the in-ring matches, the story, the how they tell the story is a little different now. So maybe I'm just not used to that. So, I'm talking like, for me, the kind of the matches that I enjoy watching are more from like Stardom, and it's kind of the high flying, especially the Joshi wrestling. These women like stomping on each other's uteruses and shit and going through tables. It's some crazy shit, right? So when I see the WWE matches, or even was it AEW? I believe it was AEW when it was like more peak when Jericho was still there. They got a bunch of Japanese wrestlers and Mexican wrestlers, and I was like, holy fuck, this is crazy. And they do all this stuff, they stop and everybody applauds both of them like that. So then when I would watch some of the WWE main matches, I'd be like, huh? This is pretty slow. That's all. Wait, Jericho's still in AEW? Oh shit. Okay. Let's go.
Big time closer for night 1 as well. And WWE had a major match to fill this role, with that being the Usos defending their undisputed tag team titles against the now reunited Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. So all the pieces were set for the dramatic conclusion of the Bloodline storyline then. But while night 1 would end with a feel-good moment of Sami and KO dethroning the Usos as undisputed tag team champions, night 2 would not be such a fairy tale.
Right.
That's right, Cody had failed, and the Tribal Chief had won again, with his title reign now reaching 945 days in length. What did this mean for the future? Well, for Cody, it meant leaving the title picture behind for a while and beginning the process of building himself back up again. For Roman Reigns, meanwhile, it meant taking a sabbatical from the ring for a few weeks, and as far as the Usos were concerned, well, they weren't quite done yet with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. No, they'd continue to be a thorn in the side of the new undisputed tag team champions, with this being exactly what led to them partnering up with Solo Sikoa to continue going after them over the next few months. And that wasn't the only battle Jimmy, Jay, and Solo were involved in at this point. No, on the orders of the Tribal Chief, the other 3 members of the Bloodline would also form something of an uneasy alliance with the Judgment Day over on Raw for a while, as both sides began to develop a common interest in destroying the Latino World Order.
Wait, what?
This was just a placeholder
Latino.
for what fans really wanted to see, though, and that was the return of the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. When would this come? Well, that wouldn't be until May, by which point dissension was once again beginning to sow itself within the ranks of the Bloodline, as Jimmy Uso started growing more and more frustrated with still being seen as a lackey. And this would all come to a head at Night of Champions, as that was the evening where, while challenging Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the undisputed tag team titles, Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa ate an embarrassing loss.
Oh shit!
Turned on them and left the family behind. Yes, Sami may not have been the one to dethrone Roman, but at least he was now able to look on as the Bloodline began to implode fully. The only question at this point was what side would Jay choose? his brothers, or his cousins? Well, the answer to that question would come on the June 16th episode of SmackDown, as that was when Jay reunited with Jimmy and challenged Roman and Solo to a tag team match at July 1st's Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And this one ended in a way which surprised many, because rather than this represent another win for the head of the table, it would actually mark his first pinfall loss since December 19th of 2019, a full 1,290 days prior. Who would be the one to beat Roman here? That would be Jey Uso, the man who challenged him for his Universal title back when he'd first won it in 2020. And because he got the win here, this meant he'd have another title.
You know what he reminds me of? He really reminds me of that, like that kind of, I don't know, well, remember that one dude from Arrow? What up, Hoss? Like that kind of like corny, try hard. I won't say like fuck boy, whatever, but like, again, this is only by looking at the clips. Like he says, yeah, well, I'm out here, I'm doing this, man. like it's just like, what up, Hoss? Like that. Like, it's just crazy, bro. Like to me, so it's just like, I'm just like, all right, he out here doing like, like real, yeah. I get the whole idea, like why he would be mad that people look at him like a lackey, because he really do be looking like sidekick underling material. Stand back, there's a hurricane. But not worth the reaction. Got it. Appreciate it. New Japan for me, Reigns. Yeah, Renee, there you go. Or like the dude in The Boys, the French guy, Frenchie. Like all those kind of like small dudes, like Chihuahua, like that. Anyways, I continue.
Shot coming up in the very near future, at SummerSlam to be exact.
What up, girls?
For the gold. No, with it later being determined that it would be a tribal combat match, it meant it would also be for the role of tribal chief itself.
What?
So the stakes couldn't have felt
Agni
so high
Kai.
if they'd tried. The only question was, would Jay finally be able to live up to the moniker of main event Jey Uso and beat his cousin, in the process ending his 1,070-day long run as champion?
No.
No was the answer to that. This one would prove that Roman's loss at Money in the Bank had only been a blip in the road, with the win ultimately coming for him at SummerSlam when Jimmy Uso screwed over his own brother and joined the Bloodline. And after this, things would fracture out across brands, as on the next episode of SmackDown, Jay would quit the show and move over to Raw instead. With it being there, he finally had a chance to face the consequences of his past actions. Yes, despite him now being a babyface, many on the Raw roster were not too happy to see Jay, and the biggest of these was Drew McIntyre, the man who had notably been screwed out of winning the world title from Roman Reigns at Clash at the Castle in September of 2022. The only friends Jay seemed to have at all, in fact...
Damn, that's a big-ass dude! Holy fuck! He kind of reminds me of the Mountain from Game of Thrones. That is a big dude. Is he carrying a sword? Dude.
For Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes, with it being the latter he briefly won the tag titles with during the autumn of that year. As for Jimmy Uso, well, after explaining that he'd screwed his brother out of the undisputed WWE Universal title as he didn't want to see it corrupt him like it had Roman, he'd returned to being a lackey of the Bloodline, with him now being very clearly outranked by Solo Sikoa in the pecking order. And this was the way things would remain for the next few months, with everyone once again killing time for a while until...
Why does Paul Heyman always... he has to be doing that on purpose. Like, he actually walks in sync with the people in front of him, which is it's just funny to me.
Outranked by Solo Sikoa in the pecking order. And this was the way things would remain for the next few months, with everyone once again killing time for a while until Roman Reigns returned.
Copying the swagger.
What would Roman do once he finally did return to the ring? Well, after beating LA Knight at November 4th's Crown Jewel, he'd ready himself for more new challengers in the form of Randy Orton and LA Knight. And while he was doing this,
So by the way, they unified the titles now, right? Because I noticed he doesn't have, like, they just fused them together now. So now there's only one champion. LA Knight. Yeah.
He was also taking the time to reward Solo Sikoa for all his hard work by anointing him the new tribal heir of the Bloodline.
Oh, wow.
And it's just as well he did this, because with Solo now more loyal than ever and more determined than he had been before,
What the fuck?
Undisputed WWE Universal title around his tribal chief's waist, Reigns would be able to walk out of a four-way match at the Royal Rumble, pitting him against Knight, Orton, and AJ Styles, still the champion. But while on most nights this might have been a cause for celebration in the Bloodline, by the time the event was over, there were no such parties happening. And that was because in the Rumble match itself, Roman's WrestleMania 40 challenger was seemingly determined when Cody Rhodes won for the second year in a row.
Oh.
However, a spanner was thrown into the works.
The Rock.
On the February 2nd episode of SmackDown,
right?
Cody came out to confront the head of the table and tell him that, well, yes, he would be coming for his title. It wouldn't be at WrestleMania.
What?
No, instead, the man who was now seemingly going to be facing Roman for the gold in the showcase of the Immortals was going to be Roman's cousin, The Rock. Needless to say, then, despite Rock and Roman being a match which had been teased for years by this point, fans were not happy with this new turn of events, and this all led to quite the backlash as the days went on, making WWE change plans and reverse the decision, once again making it Roman versus...
Really? So that wasn't a stunt from the beginning? Like, I knew people were fucking pissed, dude, when that happened. Finish your story. But I just always assumed that was just a very, very intricate work by WWE, that they were going to go back on that anyways, because I don't know. Yeah. That was awful. No, there are still two champions, but the WWE title is the primary, and then there's the World Heavyweight Championship. Okay. I kind of get it. Okay. Oh, man, Paul Heyman is fucking the best manager of all of them, dude.
Cody for the undisputed WWE Universal title on the grandest stage of them all.
Okay.
So what happened here? Well, it appears that Dwayne Johnson was informed that the WrestleMania main event would be between him and Roman Reigns. The only problem was that this was at odds with the storyline Triple H had been telling for a year by then, that being Cody Rhodes finishing the story.
Oh.
So it was then that the game booked Cody to win the Royal Rumble anyway, and then the next week on TV, he had him come out looking noticeably drained as he gave away his world title shot to the People's Champion. Yes, it's not hard to see how audiences were primed to dislike this move.
Yep.
And to The Rock's credit, once he realized his original plan wasn't working, he pivoted away from it. But what would The Rock's new role be now that he was no longer the returning babyface coming to wrestle away control of the Bloodline from his cousin? Well, that would be the uber heel final boss, the guy who was literally in control of the whole show and who could do as he pleased, when he pleased, swear jar be damned. And the next chapter in the angle would be written at Elimination Chamber on February 24th. That was where Cody Rhodes appeared in the ring with a man who at one point looked like he was going to be his replacement.
Wait, why does this man have like three... Oh, is it sunglasses for his third eye? Is that what that's all about? The fuck? All right, whatever.
Opponent at WrestleMania, World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins, and there offered him a chance of a lifetime. Main event night 1 of the Showcase of the Immortals with him in the biggest tag team match in WWE.
Seth Rollins reminds me of the Jared Leto of WWE. Like, I don't know what it is about him. Like, because he was in the Shield, right? And I'm like, okay. He always be dressing really wild and flamboyant, but he does have a dope that I don't think he does it anymore though. Like, isn't he the one that had the curb stomper? Like that was his finisher, and then that shit got banned and shit. And then I think Triple H gave him allowed him to use the pedigree now for a finisher. Oh, he still does the curb stomp? Oh, okay. That was a dope finisher though. I really like that shit. That was dope. His pedigree is awful though? Really? Oh. He was supposed to be in the recent Captain America, but I guess it got, I don't know, whatever.
WWE history. That's right, night 1 was now going to be Cody and Seth versus Roman and The Rock, with the stipulation being that if the babyfaces won, then the rest of the Bloodline would be banned from ringside for Cody versus Roman on night 2. If, however, The Rock and Roman were able to get the win during the first night, then night 2 would be Bloodline Rules. So like that, a year after WrestleMania 39, the stage was finally set for Cody to make right his prior mistake and for the Bloodline angle to finally reach its apex. And boy, were fans into this one, because in the weeks leading up to the show, arenas would be selling out left, right, and center as audiences everywhere were desperate to get in on the fun. Of course, for as much fun as it all was, though, there was still a lingering fear in the back of fans' minds that if Cody had lost the year before, what was going to stop him from losing again? And those fears were only added to when...
That's right. I mean, dude, I remember, dude, Twitter and Instagram was blowing up like crazy. That was last year, right? They were blowing up like crazy because this fool, The Rock, came out with his own damn belt. Like, this man, this man had to have some gold, so he made his own goddamn belt, the People's Belt, dude. Oh my God, dude. Oh, that was too funny, dude. I'm like, he really came out to WrestleMania with his own People's Belt. So goofy, dude. All right.
If Cody had lost the year before, what was going to stop him from losing again? And those fears were only added to when, on night 1...
Oh, wow. You can see, look at that. Pectoral, because I know he had breast surgery or something. Yeah, actually, where is his nipple, now that I think about it? I know he had surgery here years and years ago. Interesting. Okay.
One of WrestleMania, Roman and The Rock were able to get a win over Cody and Seth, with this meaning the Night 2 main event would indeed be Bloodline.
Look at Tobey Maguire's dick.
Of course, that's not the only big Bloodline moment which happened on Night 1, though. No, elsewhere on the undercard...
Wait, what?
Also get to see the...
Wait, what? Nah, man. Muhammad Ali's widow presented it to him? Are you serious? I just remember when he came out to when he came out to WrestleMania with the belt, and people were like, "What the fuck?" And they were calling it the People's Belt, like that. No, really, really, I don't remember that part of the story at all. All right, but to be fair, I'm judging by people's reactions at WrestleMania, because that was the first time I guess most people saw it. All right, anyways. The People's Championship. Stop. Yeah, 100% bullshit, dude. Oh, it was at the WWE Hall of Fame. Stop. This man. Why? Yep. I'm good. Anyways, so I'm still wondering what... Dude, this video is like 3 minutes... I thought there was a different Bloodline. We didn't get there yet.
Usos have their first one-on-one singles match together. Yes, after Jimmy, now fully brainwashed by Roman Reigns again, had screwed Jay during an Intercontinental title match against Gunther during the lead-up to WrestleMania, Jay had decided enough was enough and that he needed to rid himself of this part of his life once and for all. And so it was then that the two collided on April 6th in a match that tied up part of the story and allowed Jay to get the big babyface win. Once that was over, though, it was on to the big finale, the main event of WrestleMania 40 Night 2, pitting Roman Reigns against Cody Rhodes with the undisputed WWE Universal title on the line. Bloodline rules. How would this one go? Well,
right, I know how this ended.
Described as WWE's version of Avengers Endgame,
right.
The whole thing would go excitement to the max in the best possible way. That's right, after appearances from the Usos, Solo Sikoa, John Cena, The Rock, Seth Rollins, and even The Undertaker himself, we were down to 2 again, with Cody now finally having an even playing field against Roman Reigns. And because he now had an even playing field, at just over 33 minutes in, the American Nightmare was able to hit the head of the table with 3 consecutive crossroads after Roman became too distracted with attacking his old Shield mate with a steel chair, with this allowing Rhodes to get the 1, 2, 3. Yes, after 1,316 days, the reign of the Tribal Chief was over.
That's crazy.
And while this isn't the end of the Bloodline story, it can be considered the end of the first major arc, as since this point, a whole new Bloodline has been formed with Solo Sikoa now acting as the Tribal Chief.
Yeah. Oh, there's Fatu, because people say I look like him. I'm like, huh? Who the fuck are these people? Who are these people? That's what I've been wanting. That's the part I wanted to know, was like, what's up with the split part of the Bloodline? And when did this guy, when did he split away from Roman?
Well, Roman Reigns, the Usos, and Sami Zayn have reunited to wage war against them.
Okay.
So, you'll all have to stay tuned to see how the rest of this great story unfolds. And we'll be sure to be back with a part.
So wait, that was fairly recent? That was fairly recent then that they split? All right.
Tell the tale of how it all goes down.
But I would like to know. I would like to know Wrestling with Andy. Wrestle with Andy. Don't leave me hanging like that. I need to know about. Oh yeah, he's the one I watched the other stuff on a while back. So I guess yeah, there's no explanation on it later. I'll look it up. They're not even Samoans? Okay. What? Gorillas of Destiny? Okay. At this point, just buy the new WWE Bloodline game. There is? Yeah, God, that's who. All right. Well, it kind of answered some of the questions that I've had, but not really the last part that I wanted to know was like, what's the deal with the, like, where does that all come from? They call it, I think it's called the fake bloodline or the new bloodline. I don't know, man. I'm definitely curious about it, but I guess it's not that important. Maybe we should do a reaction to the WWE storylines building up this weekend for WrestleMania. Let me see if I can find a video like that and see what's up. Thank you guys, YouTube. I hope if you like this kind of content and you want to see more of this on YouTube, I'm always down for that stuff. Like I said, I just like good stories, dude. I just like good stories. I'm not able to watch the programming too often, but it is kind of nice to kind of keep up on some of that stuff. So particularly because a lot of the pay-per-views, well, while the pay-per-views are going on, I'm actually at work, so I can't really keep up with everything, but it'd be nice. It would be nice to catch up, watch some of those live events. I remember going to the bars, the wrestling bars, and watching WWE, some of those pay-per-views, man. Those were some cool times, dude. It would be nice to kind of do that again. All right, YouTube, we'll talk to you on the next one. Peace.